Huge fan of America's reckless bet on sports gambling.
The best.
Your book takes on modern sports betting. But before we get into that, tonight, do you think Obi Toppin's going to get 4.5 rebounds in Game 1 of the NBA?
Yeah, this segment brought to you by FanDuel.
Right.
Yeah.
Why now? Why this book right now?
I mean, I think we're at a point of what I would call a public health crisis, where young men in particular are losing more money than they can afford, and states are basically not even getting that much money for it. And the consequences are being felt, again, by primarily young men who are, again, either losing more money than they can afford or, in worst cases, developing full-blown gambling addictions and thoughts of suicide.
How did we get here? Because America's had a long history of betting and gambling, but this seems like we've taken on a whole new level.
Yeah. So here we got in 1992, the sports leagues went to Congress and asked for what the passage of the Professional and Amateur Sports Protection Act. PASPA, which did in fact blocked states from legalizing sports gambling. Okay, fine. Yeah. And then in 2018, the Supreme Court, on the basis of states' rights, which is, of course, a really cool doctrine that's never caused any problems before.
Right. States' rights.
On the basis of states' rights, basically ruled PASPA unconstitutional and says states are allowed to legalize sports gambling if they want to.
Yeah. And then that's kind of when the floodgates opened.
Yeah, and so now we have 38, soon to be this year, 39 states and Washington, D.C. with sports gambling and 30 with gambling on your cell phone. Some
states did it very quickly. New Jersey was given a year to manage it and that up.
It's New Jersey.
That's New Jersey, right. I think Delaware did it in your book. You said they did it in like 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Jersey gets a year. They still can't figure it out. Talk a little bit about fantasy sports. Talk a little bit about
the gateway drug.
Fill out your bracket.
Yeah.
Seems innocuous, seems harmless, but in some ways, did that help us get here?
Right. It's not gambling, but it's not gambling.
Right.
And in sort of legally, if there was this whole states' rights argument, that is what got us here. But culturally, the reason that within 6 weeks we have people lining up ready to bet or waiting to bet on their phone is that you're already acclimated to leveraging predictions to make money with something like fantasy sports or leveraging college basketball. And then, not to mention, you may remember in 2014, 2015, FanDuel and DraftKings took off not as sports betting companies, but as daily fantasy sports companies.
Right.
And lo and behold, come the Supreme Court decision, they already had every American sports bettor's like social security number, phone number. They were trusted with credit card deposits, name recognition, which is what allowed the Supreme Court decision comes down, boom, they're multi-billion-dollar companies overnight.
The state of Colorado says that the revenue created through gambling goes towards
the water.
There's other initiatives. Is this bullshit? Does this help me place a bet? This is for the water. Hey, I want my kids to have clean water. Let's bet that.
Yeah, you know what really helps is it helps the lawmakers sleep at night because it helps them justify why they've unleashed this public health crisis in the name of tax-free government revenue, which has always been sort of the bottom line for lawmakers when it comes to the expansion of gambling.
But is it not going to water and helping water?
It is going to water, but it's not even a golden goose. It's like a bronze. It's like a copper goose. It's like when you look at how much
injured goose.
Yeah. It's like how much money is sort of promised, or at least is imagined by these lawmakers, and then how much actually comes in because sports betting is just such a low margin business for the state.
I remember in Michigan, where I'm from, the lottery would go to education. There was always these ads like, buy your ticket, help the schools. And I remember I was 11 years old, and I would say, maybe we should just fund the schools. Maybe. I'm the hero here. Maybe Colorado should just fund the water without having to.
Yeah, but that would be too hard.
That'd be too hard.
Yeah.
How many people are doing this?
Okay, so with the caveat that Texas and California, the two most populous states, don't have legal sports betting yet.
Right.
The estimates are that 20 to 40% of American adults have legally bet within the last 5 to 7 years.
Clap your hands if you've set a bet in the last year. Yeah. That guy looks like he's lost a lot. One thing that I found fascinating in the book that I learned was that a small amount of gamblers actually attribute to the most amount of revenue. So most of us are gambling 60% or something equal 1% of revenue.
Yeah.
Is that good? Is that bad?
It's good for the 60% of people who contribute 1% of revenue.
Right.
It's bad for the 82% of bettors on the NFL the 3% of bettors on the NFL who amount to 82% of the revenue.
Right.
And so some of those people, sure, they're really, really rich like you, and they're gambling millions of dollars
right.
because they're But a lot of the people are kind of like the guys I profile in the book who are like gambling their rent money and are just over their skis, or they've developed an addiction of some kind, and they should not be betting as much as they are.
The NFL kind of hides behind this is good for the fan experience.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about how the NFL, which was adamantly against gambling, but man, has that changed.
Right. And so for decades, literally decades, the NFL used gambling as a punching bag. Whatever problem the NFL had, at the peak of the concussion crisis, Roger Goodell says that gambling is the #1 threat to the integrity of football.
Right.
Because, of course, it's not concussions.
Well, he may have been concussed.
Right. But it's sort of a punching bag. It's you can trust our product, not just because, like, America is football and football is America or whatever, but, like, because we hate gambling so much. That's why you can trust our product.
Right.
And then May 14th, 2018, 10:01 a.m., when sports gambling is going to be legal, lo and behold, we need to give gambling as tight a bear hug as possible and extract every last dollar out of the gambling economy so that we can monitor it and so that we can keep our players safe and so that we can keep our game safe. Oh, and we can make billions of dollars from it.
I mean, the ads, it's incessant, it's nonstop. What else are the apps doing to kind of prey on us? Or even, what other ways is this industry attacking us?
Right. So if you imagine the complaints all the time now about social media and the endless scroll, for example, and the sportsbooks apps basically mimic the endless scroll, where when we legalized this in 2018, we were probably imagining, hey, I'm going to bet on the Knicks over or whatever. I'm probably going to lose because it's the Knicks, but I'm going to bet on the Knicks over or whatever. I'm from.
Yeah, they lost a lot of money.
But so that's normal. Okay, like I'm going to bet on a team to win the game. Okay, that's normal. But these days, you can bet on like Malaysian women's doubles badminton.
Correct.
Because there's obviously a huge black market for Malaysian women's doubles badminton, and we need to get those gamblers who are gambling illegally onto our apps. So this endless stream of betting options. You can bet on like the speed of the next pitch. You're a tennis guy. You can bet on like whether the next tennis serve will be an ace. The goal is to mimic the slot machine phenomenon or the roulette wheel phenomenon, where just constant action. You finish your roll. Okay, let's just do another one. And there's just constant sources of action rather than having to wait 3 hours for your bet to materialize.
Yeah, that was something that really resonated with me from the book. It's that the gambler isn't necessarily addicted to they won or they lost. They're addicted to the action.
Yeah.
They're addicted to the feeling of will they win or lose. And that never ends. And it also makes a really shitty basketball game exciting all of a sudden.
Right. And if every 5 minutes you can bet on, or not even every 5 minutes, every 5 seconds you can bet on something new, and you can get that feeling, that dopamine hit that you get when the roulette wheel is spinning.
I personally don't naturally provide empathy for a gambling addict. I go, come on, man, stop. Stop doing this. You're f***ing up your life. But explain to me some of the things you say in the book about how it might not be that simple and how you call it a public health crisis. Why is that?
Well, maybe you go to heroin addicts and you tell them to stop up their life too. And then
for some reason, it's easier for me with drug and alcohol addiction to sympathize or just go like, it's just one little drink. I can see how it can escalate. But some of the things you outline, I mean, the apps know when you deposit money into your bank and then they email you. I mean, it starts to really feel like it's tough to say no over and over and over again.
Right, and so just to your point, your first question, the gambling actually is a lot like more like drugs and alcohol than you think. The American Psychiatric Association has it categorized as gambling addiction as an official addictive behavior, because it is not like something like sex addiction that's like a disorder, but it doesn't like affect your brain chemistry. Gambling literally affects your brain chemistry and changes your dopamine pathways. So someone who's addicted to gambling isn't like choosing. You can't just tell them to stop. They are not choosing to gamble. They're in the same way you can be addicted to a drug. You can be like chemically addicted to gambling.
But it's right on our phone, which we also use for everything.
Yeah, but states' rights.
Yeah. What are some of the solutions? What can we do here?
So I would say there's two categories of solutions.
Because you're not against sports betting.
Yeah, I bet on Danish handball like an hour ago.
Well, and one of the examples used, and you really do a wonderful job of highlighting some individuals that really put themselves in difficult life problems because of gambling. One of which needs the action in the middle of the night, so starts gambling on minor league British darts.
Yeah, which you're a huge fan of.
It's funny, it's humorous until you think, no, you want action. If you're an American, there's no sports happening in the middle of the night, but there is over there, and it's terribly dangerous.
So this is an easy solution, for example, is get rid of these insane sports that literally only someone with a gambling addiction would ever possibly think to bet on.
Right.
Couple that with all sorts of other changes to the app, getting rid of the endless scroll, getting rid of some of these live bets, adding friction. I think when you deposit money into your account, you should have to wait 12 to 24 hours until you can gamble with it.
Yeah.
This problem of loss chasing where you lose your bet. Oh, I'm so mad. Let me just put another $100 in. Oh, I'm so mad. I'm going to put $200 in. Yeah. And all of a sudden, $15,000 later, you wake up and you're like, what the hell just happened to me?
Slow it down.
Yeah, friction.
Slow it down.
Yeah.
It's a fascinating book. I think this is such an interesting topic that it's one of those things that America just does so terribly, that we just accept and adopt way too quickly, and then we hustle back to try to fix it. And your book makes a good argument that we need to start trying to fix it right now.
That phenomenon that you described of needing to unleashing something and then, oh, lo and behold, we messed it up. That was basically why I wrote the book. And that's why I think parents, for example, of young kids, younger than you think, need to make their kids aware of gambling and gambling addiction, and that they can't have these encounters on their own and then all of a sudden they go from video games to sports betting to some sort of gambling problem.
Great. It's a great book. Thank you for being here so much. Losing Big is available now.